Hello and welcome to the Relax. It's Retirement Podcast with your host, Josh Leonard, where we talk about transitioning into retirement with intent. I'm Wendy McConnell. Hi, Josh. How you doing?
Wonderful. How are you today,
I'm
Wendy?
good. You sound like a little bit of a cold going on there.
I'm battling one off. Yeah, a little
Okay.
little winter cough. I don't know. It's that time of the year, so I got some tea with honey ginger in it to
Oh,
help battle
okay.
off.
All right.
To
Well,
for those of you watching,
yes.
it's a
I
little
can't.
podcast
Okay.
themed. So let's just advertise the
Ooh.
podcast here on the podcast.
That's a brilliant idea. I like it. Okay. So, what will we be talking about today, Josh?
So, talking about cold season, let me cough. We need to battle these things off. And the best way to battle off a cold might be to eat some extra vitamins, but it's also to get plenty of sleep, eat healthy. If you're around others that are sick, maybe cover up, make sure to wash your hands. All of those things that we've known for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Today, we're going to be talking about the 5 worlds of money. When we talk about retirement, most people think of a retirement plan as their 401k or a individual account or series of accounts that they plan to use for retirement. The 5 worlds of money addresses 5 different areas that we need to be focused on for proper retirement planning.
All right. So you're going to tell me everything that I need to know.
Well, if I told you everything, you might be sick of me because we'd be on this podcast for a really, really long time. We'll do a brief overview of each to help listeners get a little bit of a gauge of what they need to be thinking about when prepping for retirement.
All right, let's get started because I'm already getting tired of you. So let's
Okay,
move it.
perfect. Well, a really important one is income planning. When you stop working, Wendy, guess what? They don't get you no more paychecks.
I don't like that.
So you need to figure out what you know. You need to make sure you're optimizing the income sources you have, like Social Security, or if you're fortunate enough to have a pension.
Okay.
If you have a pension, you need to explore options like a lump sum payout. Maybe if you don't expect to live a long time, or you don't need as much income as the pension produces, you might want to look at taking a lump sum if that's an option. If you're married, you also want to look at joint payouts. Should you just cover your lifetime or you and your spouse, and to what percentage? Some pensions allow you to have a surviving spouse continue to get 50% of the benefit, or 75, maybe 25, or 100% of that. So what are the nuances there, and how can you take advantage to make sure you're getting the most out of your hard-earned pension? Outside of those income sources, how else are you going to supplement to make sure you maintain your lifestyle? Maybe your Social Security and pension supply you with $4,000 or $5,000 a month, but maybe you need $7,000 a month or more to maintain your lifestyle. How can you use your assets to produce income for you in retirement? That's where income planning comes in.
Okay.
For us, we like to be conservative with income we know that we're going to need in the next 6 to 10 years and not take a lot of risk there. We've talked in the past about our 3 buckets. Whatever we need for income for the next 6 to 10 years outside of that Social Security or pension, we want to make sure is in pretty conservative stuff so that we can sustainably withdraw even if the market goes down substantially.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I just hear Social Security now. My mind wanders of, will we have it? I'm sorry. I don't want to get into that, but yes.
Oh, well, we can briefly address that because that's a big question, I think, we get from clients and prospective clients all the time is, hey, can I even plan on Social Security? I'm quite confident that our government is good at running up bills that they can't pay. So I think that they will continue. Where a lot of this fear stems from is the Social Security Trustees Report, where they declare every year, hey, this is how well funded the system is and when it will run out of money. And then they put a disclaimer, well, at this point, when we run out of money, there'd only be enough to pay some percentage of the benefits.
Okay.
Well, what has our government historically done if they don't have enough money to pay for something that they want to pay for?
They borrow.
Yeah, they borrow. So I don't know why this would be any different, especially considering that Social Security is a safety net for most retirees. A lot of folks don't have other retirement savings. The idea that they would slash those benefits would be really detrimental to the country as a whole and the stability of the country.
Okay.
The idea that Social Security would completely go away would also erode a lot of our trust with the government, since that's a system that we're all paying into throughout all of our working years. I think there will be modifications to that. We always joke, I'm a little bit younger than our clients, and the joke is that I'll have to work till age 100, right? Like, we should push that age out further. That would help shore up the system. But when they enact those changes, historically, they haven't been for the person retiring today. It's for the younger generation, and it phases in over time.
Right. Yeah. Like my retirement age is 67. So I'm, a little over 10 years out, and, I want to make sure I get that money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want that money.
And we all want that money. We also want to make sure we're getting the most out of it. So, Wendy, you have a few options there. You could take it early at age 62, or you could defer it all the way out to age 70 and any month in between there.
Okay.
Sometimes it makes sense if you retire early to take it early, but that payment's lower. The longer you defer it, the higher the payment is. Now, the break-even point between your full retirement age 67, and the longest you can defer, age 70, is somewhere around 83, which, go figure, is average mortality for someone of age 65. So if you're healthy and still working, it makes sense to keep deferring that. If you have other assets you can spend, great. Let's defer that and lock in the highest possible payment. Digging into those exact details with your personalized situation is what income planning is.
Okay. Got it.
So outside of that, we talked about the income bucket with those other assets you have. Well, we want to look at your investment allocation as a whole. So we need an investment plan. What portion do we need to be generating income for the next 6 to 10 years? Well, if you're like my grandmother that lived till age 97, your retirement at age 67, Wendy, is really just the beginning. You have 30 years to be spending all that money and going to Taylor Swift concerts, right?
Woo!
Woo, woo. So we need to plan on a long time. We still need something to be growing. So we want to be invested in the market. We want to be, monitoring that portfolio. We need a plan to do so. And how are we going to adjust that over time? That's where an investment plan comes in. Within that investment planning, we want to make sure we're tax efficient. We want to make sure we're properly diversified. We want to keep costs as low as possible. If there's a lower cost fund option or a lower cost way to invest, we want to take advantage of that within the investment plan.
Okay.
Makes sense?
It does make sense.
And
Now-
then after you live till age 97, Wendy, and you want to give the rest of your money away to the Underwater Basket Weaving Society,
Yeah,
or
that
whatever,
sounds like me. Okay.
whatever your legacy plan is, whatever it
Pickleball
might be.
Association, whatever.
Ooh, have a pickleball court donated in your name.
Yeah, so how do I go about making sure that happens?
So that would fall into your legacy or estate planning. So, hey, what do you want to happen after you pass away? How can we be most efficient there? And sometimes this is as simple as updating the beneficiaries on your retirement accounts. Sometimes we meet with folks and they set up that 401k at work and they never even actually put down their spouse or their children as beneficiaries. So we always want to do that. That's a good thing to kind of check once a year. Just look at your beneficiaries. If you have more complex needs, if you have a special needs child, if you have a family farm or small businesses that are part of your wealth, you want to make sure that those are structured in the right way to go to the place you want to, not just to have a scramble when you pass away. We hear from so many of our clients that they struggled to sort out mom and dad's affairs after they passed away, right? It was kind of this black box that they didn't know what was going on. And then when they opened up that black box, well, it was more like Pandora's box. There was all kinds of problems that came out.
Yeah.
And no one wants to leave their loved ones with that. So proper estate planning enables that transition to be a little bit easier.
All right. Sounds good.
Next up, we have health planning. So as I have this little bit of a cold and we think about, oh, well, once I'm retired, I'm still going to need to go to the doctor, most likely even more so than during our working years. So what do we do to make sure that we have access to affordable health care? Well, of course, at age 65, we can go on to Medicare, but Medicare is pretty much an 80-20 plan. We're still responsible for about 20% of the costs. And some things just aren't even covered by Medicare as well. So let's add supplemental plans or look at advantage plans to see how we can help fill those gaps. Another big one that we talk to clients all the time about in health planning is their drugs. So in retirement, you need that Part D. You need a plan to cover the prescriptions that you're taking. Throughout retirement, that list of drugs is going to change over time, depending on what ailments you have. Hopefully, you don't have any at the beginning of retirement, but you still need a drug plan so you're not penalized in the future. Some plans are ultra low cost. So if you don't have a long list of drugs now, maybe you don't take anything now, we can buy that low cost plan now and then update it once a year as those prescriptions that you need evolve. But that is a great way to control cost. This year, we were talking with a client. We looked at switching to a lower premium plan that actually made their drugs less expensive as well. It saved them over $1,000 projected for 2025. So
yeah, that's great.
Definitely worth having a plan on. Another big piece of health planning is your long-term care. So if you have concerns about being in a nursing home or needing extra at-home care, how are you going to pay for that? It's quite expensive. My grandma was in a nursing home for about 2.5 years, and that bill was near $10,000 a month.
Wow.
So how are we going to pay for that? She was fortunate that my dad had set up some long-term care plans for her and his mom many years ago. So that helped cover most of the cost in addition to her Social Security and then a little bit out of savings. You don't have to have long-term care insurance. Many folks don't like it because it is guaranteed renewable, meaning that they will renew the policy, but the cost is not fixed. So we don't know how that cost is going to impact your plan in your later years. If you've spent down most of your money and the cost keeps going up, you're not really going to want to pay that premium anymore.
Right.
So that might not be the best balance for you. There's other ways to insure through life insurance and annuities as well. So exploring those options, or maybe just self-insuring or planning a Medicaid spend down is the best plan for you. But that would be all part of your healthcare planning.
Okay. Because we all like to think we're going to be super healthy until the day we die, but it does not typically go that way.
That's right. Yep. I think the other big one that we can never forget, and I love talking about, is taxes, Wendy.
Oh, my God.
We got to factor taxes into all of this.
Yeah, because we love to pay those.
Yeah, or try not to. We got to be careful. Within our income planning, if we're bumping up to a higher tax bracket, well, we need to factor that in because Uncle Sam's going to want that money. They're not going to care if you spent it on pickleball tournament in Florida in the dead of winter. They don't care. They need the tax revenue. They're going to get that money from you one way or the other. So we need to factor taxes in. We also need to look at taxes over the long term within your retirement plan to make sure that we're paying the lowest possible amount. If we know in 5 years from now we're going to need to replace a vehicle and all of our money is in an IRA or 401k, we may want to start taking smaller amounts out now to make sure we're not paying in a higher tax bracket. Okay. That all fits into tax planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I thought you. Yeah, I thought you were going to say something.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we'll pick back up here at some point.
Let's do that. All right.
Fair enough. Another key piece of tax planning is Roth conversions. So looking at transitioning some of your fully taxable money to not taxable money, that gives you more flexibility for later years in retirement for larger expenses. It also positions your assets better for the next generation. Most people would rather inherit a tax-free account versus a taxable account that comes with all sorts of asterisks. Like now, if you inherit an IRA, in most cases, you have to take that out within 10 years. Well, Wendy, if you're 10 years away from retirement, maybe you don't want that income now. Maybe you'd rather have it in 10 years from now when you're planning to not be working. In that scenario, we want a tax plan to make sure that we're structuring things the most efficiently.
When it comes to Roth, it seems like I keep putting off a conversion because that has tax implications as well when you convert. So as somebody who never wants to have that extra income and, bumping you up to another tax bracket, when is the best time to go about doing that? Because then you have to come up with the tax money too.
Yeah, I would say now, Wendy, you have a different opportunity. Rather than a Roth conversion, you can also do a Roth contribution. So money that you're earning now, you can put into a Roth IRA. You've already paid taxes on it. So go ahead and write that check. You could contribute $7,000 this year into a Roth IRA, and you're not paying any additional taxes. By putting it in the Roth IRA, you're not getting a tax deduction. But if it's from your regular income, you've already paid taxes on that money.
Right. So where's the 7,000 coming from?
Well,
I mean,
we can talk about saving.
You're acting like I just have an extra $7,000 sitting around. I'm sorry, I don't mean to make you cough.
No, that's a good point though, Wendy. It has to be something that's built into your planning, right? The reality is most people can't just say, "Oh yes, $7,000, great." You need to plan for it throughout the year. So maybe a goal for 2025 or, midway through the year is saying, hey, I'm going to take a piece of every paycheck that comes in and be contributing to that Roth over time, just like we do with 401ks or other types of retirement plans.
Okay. So you're telling me that I need to save it. I got it.
That, like, guys like me, that's all we do. Save money, don't spend it, live a boring life. No, but by taking a small piece out and saving smaller increments over time, getting to that limit of $7,000 in a few years might not seem as far away. The idea that we're suddenly going to produce an extra $7,000 is a little bit harder to think through, much like paying a big tax bill on a conversion.
Right.
When we do a Roth conversion, though, we do have the option to withhold taxes on that conversion. So if you're in the 12 or 22% tax bracket, you could say, hey, whatever amount I'm converting over, go ahead and withhold this tax from that account. You're paying the tax on it, but you don't have to write a separate check to do it. So for many folks, that has a lot less friction to it than doing the conversion and then having to write a check.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up for me. I appreciate it.
Not a problem at all.
All right. I'm just going to go get my $7,000 and put that into it.
Just pull it out of the left pocket. Yeah. Okay. Move it to the right. Good. I'm glad we're on the same page there, Wendy. When we think about these 5 different worlds of money, different areas of retirement planning, they all work together as well. When we think about our income plan, we need to factor in our tax plan. When we think of our investment plan, we need to think of our health plan. All of these pieces work together. So for our comprehensive plan, it's good to be factoring all of these plans into our big decisions that we're making. By laying out a plan that's looking at multiple factors, we're less likely to get big surprises in retirement. Too many times we've had people come to us and they say, hey, I took all this money out for a down payment on a second home, and now I got this letter from Medicare saying that now I have to pay more for my Medicare. Wow. And I didn't withhold taxes on that, so now I have a huge tax bill too. Some of these can have a cascading effect of impacting, your total plan. I received an email from a client last week who we had talked through a Roth conversion, and they were kind of sitting on it, making sure that they felt comfortable with it before making that decision. And they said, oh, rather than that, I don't think I'm paying capital gains now. So why don't I sell all these stocks and realize a big amount in capital gains? Well, when we look at their actual tax plan, it would cause a big chunk of their Social Security to become taxable, and they'd be bumping up against a Medicare limit. So certainly that would not be a good idea. It's not only that capital gains, but the impact on the total tax picture that you might see. So that would be a horribly inefficient strategy to do. Although if you just look at the tax brackets, it might look like you can do this for free. So you need to be careful there. Make sure that you're coordinating your plan throughout.
Okay.
So by putting all these pieces in, we're able to have that comprehensive plan. We're able to operate to and through retirement with confidence. For any listeners today that are wondering if they're making any big mistakes in their retirement, they can download our 7 retirement mistakes checklist to run through and see if they are positioned to make any of those mistakes. So that's a free resource available to all listeners for the podcast today. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the podcast so you're notified when we release a new episode. Wendy, thank you so much for joining me today. And until next time, remember to retire with intent so you can live your golden years with the happiness and excitement that you deserve.